Leo Rising, welcome here to Soul Passages Astrology. I am your astrologer, Georgia Dempsey, and I am thrilled that you stopped by for your March 8th Eclipse report. I know that eclipses are super powerful times in our lives, and we have a big one that's going to rock our world on March 8th in the evening into March 9th. Don't get too hooked on those days, though, because these are such potent cosmological events that an actual circumstance or event could come into our lives up to 2 weeks before those dates or even 2 weeks after. And whatever shakes out, it is going to rock your world in a really big way. And for you, it all has to do with the 8th house. And that 8th house holds some very transformative things inside. So let's take a look so that you can see what energies are afoot, so that you can do your best to harness them and have them work in your favor. All right, when I take a look at your chart, Leo Rising, I see the following planets all lined up in your 8th house in Pisces. I see Mercury, the planet of communications. It's saddled right next to Neptune, and Neptune has kind of a soul-filled feeling to it. It is a higher octave of Venus. It also can have you seeking for the divine, and it can also bring in uncertainty and fogginess. Right next to that is Ceres, a dwarf planet that has all to do about taking care of yourself, especially with Pisces on an emotional and soul-filled level. Then we have the sun and moon together, which is why it is a powerful new moon phase. A great time for you to set seeds for what you want in the intimacy department or regarding other people's money. Also with Chiron there is a need to get over any feeling of woundedness you have in regards to these matters. And also the south node of the moon is there. So anytime we have a south node of the moon involved in an eclipse, other people seem to be more in charge of the events that unfold. Either they bring events into our lives, situations pop up, they have information they want to tell us, and those are the things that tend to really stir the pot, so to speak. Whereas when we have an eclipse with it attached to the north node of the moon, we're more in charge. So in this case, it is other people who are more on the delivering end of things. And with that south node of the moon retrograde, it could be people from the past. It could be old lovers, old business partners, other people that you've been close to in the past. And with the 8th house, these are going to be big life transforming events, okay? 8th house has to deal with life, birth, death, sex, taboos, inheritances, major life divides. Could even be facing a big illness. Even for a couple of you, maybe somebody is actually going to pass from this world into the next. And again, I doubt that will happen for many of you, but it is possible. And so whatever shakes out in the 8th, it is going to be a pretty major deal. So let's take a look at how you can channel some of the energies to help ride out the emotional waves a little bit better, okay? And I'd like to start with that Neptune-Mercury conjunction, because there is such a feeling of intimacy in this house of the people that you're really, really, really close to. And we've got the planet of communications right next to Neptune. This is a really good time for you to have heart-filled, soul-filled talks with the people that you really care about, right? To get real with people, to, the kind of talks you have behind closed doors when nobody else is listening, and to bare your soul a little bit, right? and not be afraid to do that. Okay, those types of talks are in order right now. It's also a time, for you to be very clear and concise and truthful about what it is you want to say, and also make sure that the information you're hearing back from people that are close to you is also true, because there can be some deception sometimes with Pluto conjunct Neptune. There can be some lies. So it doesn't always, bring in the most true information. So you have to be kind of discerning. And your Jupiter North Node in Virgo down in the second should help you be discerning with what is coming in. Certainly you don't want to have any kind of information leaks happen, especially with something of an intimate nature. And unfortunately, this combination has to do with scandals as well. So do be careful of that. But for most of you, I think it's going to be just a need to get down and have a heart-to-heart talk with somebody that you really care about, right? And in that process, whenever we have those talks, there's a need to be loving. There's a need to be kind, both with the other person and as with ourselves, to nurture ourselves. And that's the message of Ceres there, is to, delve into the emotional waters, but take care of yourself and work on healing yourself. A lot of healing can happen in the 8th house. Sometimes big events in our lives are cataclysmic illnesses, right? So a need to just nurture yourself. With the sun and the moon both up there, again, a time to set seeds for what you want in terms of intimacy, in terms of joint financing, and to really get in touch with who you are. With Chiron up there can be a tendency for folks with Chiron in the 8th to feel like they have no power for whatever reason. Maybe it was childhood events or even just circumstances right now, but there can be a feeling of powerlessness. And what can happen, if you're not aware of this, is you can try to gain power over other people. You can try to manipulate people or control people or be in charge of people or, have a very strong desire nature over things. And so the trick here is not to try to gain control over others, but to master yourself and to master your desire nature. So sometimes with this placement, there can be, concern over joint financing. There can be concern over inheritances and a desire, for money. And again, I would say if you're having those feelings, look to Jupiter and the North Node of the Moon. Jupiter is the planet of abundance. You have what you need. You can stand on your own 2 feet. You have more power than you realize. And so, try not to let those feelings of lack or need to control others come in, because you have all of the power and everything you need within yourself to stand on your own 2 feet. And sometimes with Jupiter in Virgo, the answer is less is more. We live in a crazy world, and there's so much demanded of us all the time these days. And we think we have to have millions of dollars to retire, and we think we have to have so much money in the bank, and we have to have this, and we have to have that. And it could never end, right? Well, in truth of the matter, we're all so much more blessed than we actually realize. If we were really to dig deep and look at how blessed we are, oh my goodness. And, a lot of us have so much that I'm doing it right now. I'm downsizing, I'm trying to make a better life. And so one of the ways I'm doing that is I'm selling the house and I'm moving into a smaller house. And though I'm not doing it, I've certainly thought about tiny houses. And those are a brilliant idea. And I applaud people who do it, because they get rid of that feeling of lack. And instead of, paying the mortgage and paying the mortgage and paying the mortgage and worrying about money, instead they say, guess what? It's all done. Now I've got money to live. I've got money to explore. I've got money to do. I've got money to build myself worth and to develop myself, develop my skills, develop my talents, do this, do that, and the other. It's a brilliant idea. I absolutely love it. So anyhow, I'm just going to encourage you not to have that feeling of lack, not to be worried over joint financing. You are probably much more blessed than you actually realize, and to get in touch with that Jupiter in the North Node and recognize your self-worth, recognize your value, and really focus on the things that are really, really, truly important in your life, since the second house has to do with the things that we value. And your blessings right now really lie on concentrating on that aspect of things. Again, we have so much more than we could ever possibly imagine. All right, so let's take a look here. I want to just jump ahead a little bit. With Chiron also, and next to that sun in the 8th house, it's you getting in touch with yourself on a soul level. And that needs to happen in regards to the relationships with others in your life, the people that you're very closest to. So not just you as a soul, but seeing the other people in your world that are stirring up these life events as dear souls as well. So once you start thinking of things that way, that should help considerably. And with the moon also being touched off by Chiron during whatever event is coming down, emotions are going to come to the forefront. There are going to be, reactions, gut patterns that pop up, issues from the past, habit patterns, old scripts that we run in our head. Again, if there was a lack of money at one point in life, maybe you feel like there's a lack of money now, but when really circumstances are completely different. So why listen to that old script? And so with Chiron conjunct the moon, your challenge is to recognize those old habit patterns, recognize those old scripts, and see what you can do to change them so that you can ride out this storm more easily. All right. Now, what's interesting between this second house axis and the 8th house axis, we have a square coming in from Saturn in the 5th house. So it's a big T-square. And I think one of the big issues we need to look at with this is, first of all, the 5th house is the house of pleasures, right? Joy, fun, the things we do that we're passionate about, romances, children, for example. And this is causing some serious challenges to both the 2nd house and the 8th house. So some of you may be taking care of some kids at home and it's challenging your finances. Okay, that's pretty normal, right? But again, look to the blessings. What's really, really, really important? Concentrate on that. Some of you maybe feel blocked on a romantic level, Sometimes we get so hectic and busy in life that we don't have all the time we'd like to have just to have fun and play and, be intimate with the people that we love. And if that's happening for you, I'd say, make the time, take the time, schedule a date. I started doing dates with my husband again, and it's been great. I love date night. So just taking time for that. And also it's to, be careful of your ego a little bit. That 5th house is a Leo-ruled house. It's where the sun likes to be. It's where we like to be flamboyant, where we like to have our voice heard, where we like to creatively express ourselves. But with Saturn down there, the lesson is we still need to express ourselves, but we need to be careful how we do that, right? We don't want to get too attached to our egos. We don't want to get to the point where our voice is the only voice that matters, especially when we've got a big square going right up into the house of intimacy. Sometimes we have to compromise, right, in order to get some of the things that we like. And we have to work with people, especially in partnership. It's a give and take and a sharing. And so there are some lessons and challenges to be had with this. But the bottom line for you, Leo rising, is to just continue to concentrate on the things that really matter the most and to count your blessings in every way possible, because with Jupiter in the North Node down there in the 2nd house, you surely have more blessings than you could possibly realize. All right, I hope whatever shakes out that you do okay this eclipse season. If you are facing a big cataclysmic divide in your life, which sometimes does happen with all this action up in the 8th house, if you feel like you need a hand, give me a call. Contact information is at the front of the video. Otherwise, I would love to hear from you if this forecast helped you in your life, if it provided information that was useful. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I appreciate your support ever so much. And whatever's shaking out, I hope you do great. All right, peace and blessings. Namaste.